Hello, wonderful people of the internet, and my name is Lucius, and today I have something different for you. Today I will be starting a new series, yay, and this is episode 1 of Archetype Scope Search, a series where we're gonna look at the archetypes Konami has shit out, brought us, and see whether they're actually good or whether they're complete arse. And as you might have guessed from the background, we're gonna be combining two major things. Fire and dinosaurs. Cause everyone knows fire and dinosaurs mix very well. Not at all. So, what possibly could we be reviewing today? Well, very simply, we're gonna be looking at Jurracs. The first Jurrac will be in their lineup is a level 1 dinosaur tuner named Jurrac Aioli. God forsake Konami with their fucking names. And it has the following effect. Tribute this card, special summon 1 level 4 or lower Jurrac monster from your graveyard except Jurrac Aioli. For a simple card, it's pretty much Monster Reborn for this, but the downfall is that it does take out your normal summon of the turn. You bring the tuner back to the graveyard, so it's a 2 off or a 3 off, depending on whether you're really dependent on a level 1 tuner. But on average, it's okay at most. Definitely not their best card. Next up is Jurracs Toriko, a level 2 fire dinosaur monster with the following effect. If this card is destroyed by battle, special summon 2 Jurrac tokens in defense position. These tokens cannot be tributed for tributes other than Jurrac monsters. Now, this card is very amazing, especially in combination with a card we will be looking at later. Because the 2 tokens are a very amazing amount. It can give you some protection, and overall, it's not too hard to proc its effects. Yeah, sure. It only works if it's destroyed by battle. But this is a very amazing card to have turn 1 in your opening hand. Especially if you're going fast, so I would suggest run 3 of them. And he looks dope as fuck. Next up is Jurrac Galim, a level 2 fire dinosaur tuner with the following effect. When this card is destroyed by battle and sent to the graveyard, destroy the monster that destroyed this card. Your opponent can discard 1 card to negate this effect. I have one thing to say about this card: don't run it. It might have been good in old-time Yu-Gi-Oh, but in the current Yu-Gi-Oh, it's pretty much worthless. First off, it's an effect that only works if it's destroyed by battle, which means most of it's okay. Secondly, the opponent can just discard a card, which in the old meta would have been a pretty big deal. In the current meta, most decks have something for the graveyard, so I would not suggest run it. Maybe 1 if you really want to, because it is a tuner, but on average it's not really worth much of your time except for the fact that it's a tuner. So yeah. The next one, Jurrac Terra. Terrat, I don't know. At least not too bad of a name compared to fucking Aioli. Which is a level 3 fire dinosaur with the following effect. If this card is attacked, return the monster that attacked to the opponent's hand. This card gains defense equal to the level of the monster returned to the hand times 100. It's not the greatest, honestly, because with 1500 defense, you're not gonna be surviving many hits. I mean, I guess it can work once in a while if you have something like Mirror Wall, which is not the best card to have, honestly, but It can work once in a while, but on average I run it because it's a tuner, run it because it's good for, in combination with a tuner to get some monsters, some lower synchro monsters out, but it's not the best. So maybe 2, but that's the best you can do with this one. Next up, Jurracs, a level 3 fire dinosaur tuner with the following effects. As long as there is another face-up Jurrac monster on the field, this card cannot be destroyed by battle. It's a tuner that's indestructible by battle most of the time. So it's worth running 2 of these, maybe 3, for the fact that A, it's a tuner, and B, it is indestructible by battle. But keep in mind that it is still Raigeki material, so you can get dicked over a bit. Next up is Jurrac Monolith, cause God forsake it has a good name, with the following basic effect. This card can attack each opponent monster once. With a 1500 attack, it's not really the best card there is. I mean, I guess it's fine. It can make for some fun combinations, but on average you don't want to be running more than 2 of these because, I mean, yes, it's a tuner, so that works, but it's not the best. So, next up in their lineup is I think their last level 3, which is Jurrac Dino, because God forsake, we don't know that it's a dinosaur, because it totally doesn't look like one, and it totally doesn't say it or anything. A level 3 fire dinosaur tuner with 1700 attack, 800 defense, with the following effect. During the end phase, if this card destroyed an opponent's monster this turn, tribute 1 Jurrac monster, then draw 2 cards. This effect can be used during either player's turn. Now, to put it simply, this card is on one hand very good, but on the other hand, the fact that you have to tribute 1 Jurrac monster, that can be annoying. But for level 3 with 1700 attack, it's not too bad. And 1700 is a magical number in this archetype, as you'll see once we get into the Battle of Force, because if I don't remember what the next card is, by the way. So, but on average, I would suggest run 2 of these. It's a good card, but not amazing. Next up, the first level 4 is Jurrac It's Jurrac Guaiba. This fucking monstrosity. A level 4 fire dinosaur with 1700 attack, 1700 attack, 400 defense, and the following effect. If this monster destroyed an opponent monster by battle, special summon 1 Jurrac monster with 1700 or less attack from your deck. The special summoned monster cannot attack the turn it was summoned. It's a very useful card. It's a summoner with 1700 attack, which works nice because it can summon itself. So next turn you can summon 2 monsters. It's also good for the fact that you can easily get a tuner out, which means after the battle phase you can synchro summon. So on average, I do suggest run 3 of these. Next up is Jurrac, a level 4 fire dinosaur with 1700 attack, 700 defense, with the following effect. If this card destroys an opponent monster by battle, select one of your opponent's set cards, return it to the hand. As it doesn't destroy, I mean, that does lower the amount of cards that can negate it, but the fact that it's limited to set cards, it's not the best. Because most of the time the cards you want to be getting rid of are continuous spell cards that are already activated. But because of a lack of better options, I suggest run 2 or 3 of these. Because, as I said, lack of better options. Next up, Jurrac Velo, a card with way too much way too much information on the effect area, because I could easily rewrite it, because if I'm right, the effect normally sounds like... We'll get into that later. So it's a level 4 fire dinosaur with a 1700 attack, 1000 defense, and with the following effect, if you want to put it shortly. If this card is destroyed by battle and sent to the graveyard, special summon one Jurrac monster with 1700 or less attack from your deck. Its actual effect states something with way too much information, which is, if this card attacks or is attacked and if this card attacked or is attacked, is destroyed by battle, and is sent to the graveyard, special summon one, and it's way too much information, just if this card is destroyed by battle. I might have forgotten that it has to be in attack position, so that's my bad. But yeah. It's a very nice it's a very useful monster, but there are better options. So I'd suggest run 2 of these for the effect of it, and that's really it. Next up, Jurrac Protops, a level 4 fire dinosaur with 1700 attack to 1200 defense, with the following effects. This card gains 100 attack for each monster your opponent controls. For a simple effect, maximum 500 boost. It's worth running 1 or 2, but definitely not more. It's a very useful card, but it's dependent on your opponent, and there are too many decks that focus on just having one monster out. So it's not the most reliable option. Next up, Jurrac Hera, a level 6 fire dinosaur with 2300 attack, 1500 defense, and the following effect. When a defense position Jurrac monster you control, except Jurrac Hera, is destroyed by battle and sent to the graveyard, you can special summon this card from your hand or graveyard. First of all, it can revive itself from the graveyard. That's really amazing. Secondly, as I said before, Storiko, the one that if it's destroyed by battle, summon 2 tokens. That one and Hera work greatly together. You let the other one in defense position, first turn, it gets destroyed, you summon out Hera and 2 tokens. Which means on your opponent's turn you've effectively summoned 3 monsters. What more do you want? It's a very good combination. It's self-revival, which is always useful, goes easily into some synchros, so it's worth running 2 or 3. This one apparently got fucked up by mistake. But it looks like fucking this. Jurrac Tyrannus with the following effect. You contribute 1 dinosaur-type monster to have this card gain 500 attack. When this card destroys an opponent monster by battle and sends it to the graveyard, this card gains 300 attack. It's a very useful card. It's not the strongest turn 1 when it's out, but it's a very useful card, and especially in combination with Hera again, because if you get Hera out, you can easily just put something in defense position. If it gets run over, you can get Hera back, so... And there are some other monsters that can work well with it, but I would suggest run 1 or 2, but not too much. Next up is Jurrac Spinus, a level 7 fire dinosaur type with 2600 attack, 1700 defense, and the following effect. When this card destroys an opponent monster by battle and sends it to the graveyard, you can special summon 1 Spinus token in attack position in your opponent's side on the field. Which pretty much calculates to destroy something with this card and have a good option to attack something with something else to get some nice damage out. However, if this effect is not the best effect there is, and it's definitely a little bit underwhelming, so run 1 or 2 by preference, but which is my case. I like to run it because it's just nice. I mean, it looks cool, it's a decent effect, but it's not the best. Now we're gonna get into the big boy of the Jurracs. Jurrac Titano, and this is actually the card from this archetype that got me into this archetype. And you'll see why, because it has some very niche effects. So it's a level 8, 9, 2, 4, yeah, 9. It's a level 9 fire dinosaur type with 3000 attack, 2800 defense, with the following effect. Cannot be special summoned, cannot be targeted by traps or monster effects. Once per turn, you can banish one Jurrac monster with 1700 or less attack from your graveyard. This card gains 1000 attack until the end phase. Now this one introduces something that no other cards in this one have, because this one randomly banishes cards from the graveyard. But the 1000 attack boost works very nice, and the fact that it cannot be targeted by trap or monster effects is especially nice with the amount of monster effects that target. Trap effects on average don't target too greatly, but monster effects, that's very nice. So I definitely suggest run 2 of these. Next up is their first synchro monster, which is Jurrac Velveto. I don't know, I can never pronounce his name. It's a level 5 synchro dinosaur monster. Synchro fire dinosaur monster with question mark attack, question mark defense. Its effect states the following. This card gains attack and defense equal to the total original attack of the synchro material monsters used for this synchro summon. If this card attacks a face-down defense position monster, you can strike that monster immediately with this card's effect, without flipping it face up or applying damage calculation. The destroying effect is mediocre at best. Its attack is okay. It can be okay on average. You'll on average get around 20 to 25 most of the time, sometimes a little bit more, but it's definitely not something you'd like to run a lot. Because it's a level 5, that means you pretty much have to use Aiello, which, as we stated before, is not the best card there is. Just use this one to get over with some flip effect flip effect decks, but on average don't run it too much. Next up is Jurrac Giganoto, I don't something. A level 2, 4, 6, 7 fire dinosaur with the following, with 2100 attack, 1800 defense, and the following effect. All face-up Jurrac monsters gain 200 attack for each Jurrac monster in your graveyard. Now this one can be a little bit tricky to use its effect usefully, because monsters in graveyard, you're pretty much guaranteed to add a 400 boost, because you need to have 2 monsters to summon this thing. So 400 boost is definitely gonna be happening, but the rest, I mean, it's not the best, not the worst. I suggest run 1 or 2 of these if you want. It can be useful in some situations, but on average, I don't suggest it too harshly, but because of the lack of better options, go ahead. Their last synchro summon is a level 11 fire dinosaur with 2800 attack and 2000 defense, which is named Jurrac Meteor, because the fucking irony that a meteor destroyed the dinosaurs has to be in a fucking fire dinosaur deck. And it totally wasn't obvious that it's a fucking meteor. Well, it has the following effect. When this card is synchro summoned, destroy all cards on the field. Then you can special summon one tuner monster from your graveyard. Which means one big nuke, and then get a tuner out so you can get a new synchro summon monster out next turn or the turn after. Pretty nice, pretty useful. Little gimmicky and only works on one turn because next turn you're gonna get destroyed because most decks can summon something with more than 2800 attack. I do suggest run it because the nuke effect can win you some games, and if it can win you some games, I do suggest running it, but it does have to be a relatively good amount of wins it can give you, not just 1 on a 50 or something. Like, if it can give you 1 on 10 wins, something like that, I suggest run it. And lastly, their first and only back row card that doesn't have anything to do with the whole archetype, but is named Jurrac for one or another reason, because probably Jurrac Meteor and the artwork has Jurracs in it. Jurrac Impact. A normal trap card with the following effect. If you control a dinosaur type monster with 2500 or more attack, destroy all cards on the field. So it's a straight off -1 on most situations. And it's not the most useful card there is. It can be useful in some situations, but keep in mind that it also destroys all of your cards, which means you also have to restart from scratch. As Jurracs aren't the fastest archetypes that can work in your disadvantage, because most of the time if the opponent has a fast archetype, you're fucked, pretty much. But, well, of course, just like every other thing you're gonna research and review, you're gonna have to rate it. So we're gonna rate this archetype on protection, power, adaptability, acceleration, and unpredictability. First off, protection. Their protection is none. We have some self-protection in Jurrac Titano and Jurrac Brachius, but that's it. So on average, the protection is a 1. Power. This whole archetype is based on pretty much attack and some niche effects. But on average, their big monsters are all about attack, so on that note, their power is pretty much a full 5. Which I am being a little bit generous and a little bit biased, but anyways. Adaptability. They do have their nice cards to adapt on the opponent's decks, like, for instance, as I said, if it's a flip effect deck, you have the Synchro Monster in Velveto, something like that. And they do have, and a one big nuke is pretty much a good adaptability. And their other cards are okay, so I'll give them a generous 2. As of acceleration, as I said, it's not the fastest deck there is, but it definitely could be worse. So I suggest, I mean, they do have their nice cards that combo well together, that can bring out something big in one turn, so their acceleration is pretty decent with the right hand. But as it's situational to your hand, I'll give them a 3. Last, unpredictability. They do have some unpredictability because each big monster, so 2 tributes or their synchro monsters, have completely different effects, pretty much, and they do something completely different. So they're a little bit unpredictable, and I will give them a very generous 3, which is okay at best. Now, next up, the deck. I suggest my deck. What I would suggest is that 2 Titanos, because they are pretty much a main staple in this deck because the non-targeting effect. 1 Spinos, 2 Tyrannus, as they're very useful. Hera, of course. Hera is a great card with this deck, especially with some others. But now we're gonna get into some cards that are not Jerk, but they're dinos, which is Evil Swarm Salamandra, which we'll get into it later. But its effect is banish. Twice per turn, you can banish a monster from your graveyard. This card gains 3 in attack until the end of your opponent's turn. So it's an easy attack boosting, and it can work very nicely. 1 Protops because it can be useful in some situations. Velo, of course. When this face up attack position card attacks or is attacked and it is destroyed by battle and sent to the graveyard, you can special summon. Because it can special summon monsters, definitely a staple, so run 2. Iguano, back row protection, so also 2. Guaiba, I don't know, Guaiba. When it destroys an opponent monster, I mean, everything that can pretty much summon something from your deck is good, and this one is pretty much the best the deck has. Next up is Tyranno Infinity, which combines very well with Salamandra and Titano, as both of those banish monsters, and this monster has the following effect of the original attack of this card is the number of your banished dinosaur-type monsters times 100. As your whole deck is only dinosaurs, you'll on average have quite a bit of dinosaurs banished. So 3000 is easy to get. However, this card is an absolute brick on your opening hand, so that might make it a little bit worse. 1 dino because the tribute that you need to do does lower its usage, but it's very nice to have a card that can pretty much draw 2 cards. Monoloth times 1 because it's a tuner. 2 Brachis because the protection for battle, that's pretty much the only reason, and it's tuner, so it was nice. 3 Starkos because they're a pretty big staple in this deck, and 3 Ioli because you need that level 1 tuner for this deck. As of the spell cards, I only suggest 3, which are Swords of Revealing Light to give your Iolis and Dino and Moloth some protection. Monster Reborn because it's always useful to have one. Bolt and Destruction, a field spell that grants 500 attack to every fire monster, but they do lose 400 defense. It's a very useful deck, especially since Jurracs are basically focusing on attack and not on defense. Your average Mirror Forces and the Solemns, so not much explanation. 2 Meteors, 2 Gigantos, 2 Velvetos, very simple. And as of these monsters here, I have Evolzar Lagia, which is during either place turn when a monster would be normal, special summoned, or a spell trap effect is activated, you can detach 2 Xyz materials from this card, negate summon or activation, and if you do, destroy that card. It's very useful to have, and it's a fire dinosaur, which works very well with the Molten Destruction. And Evolzar Dalka is pretty much the same, but it's only 1 Xyz material, and it works for monster effects. And lastly, we have Granosaurus, another fire dinosaur, which has the following effect: when this card destroys an opponent monster or battle and sends it to a graveyard, you can detach 1 Xyz material from this card, inflict 1000 damage to your opponent. Pretty much, these cards bring your dinos to the graveyard, especially if you have Hera. I mean, if you know a card that can put monsters as sneak materials. Hair works really well with this. Other than that, yeah, that's pretty much it. So, Jurracs definitely not the worst, so a pretty solid start off. But I know it will get worse, so just prepare for it. Well, anyways, that was it. I'll see all of you guys and gals in the next episode. I hope you guys enjoyed it. Be sure to let me know down in the comment section below. Leave a like, subscribe, and sorry for this horrible video. Laters.